All right, well, we're off to do some chores. It's been a long time. We haven't updated you guys. We've been on the land for just coming up to a year now. And we've been busy. It's a lot to run a place like this. So we're gonna just kind of take you along with us while we do some chores today. And we're gonna talk about what we've been up to and what's coming up next for us. So what are we up to right now?
So something we have to do right now is clean up these piles of wood and grass and dirt. And they've been left here over the winter because last summer and fall there was a family of beavers that kept trying to build their dam down by the culvert there, because there's already a natural barrier, so it's just the easiest place for them to put a dam. And so Mike and the boys had to pull it apart every few days, pull out like a ton of wood out of the culvert.
Because otherwise it will dam up and flood, and it'll flood the neighbors and it'll destroy parts of the land. It's a big deal. Water management was surprisingly a lot bigger deal than I ever thought it would be. Like half of our chores, it seemed, during the summer were just clearing culverts and watering stuff, and I don't know, it's all water.
Yeah, like either preventing things from being flooded or preventing them from drying out. Water is just such a big deal. And then wild animals, constantly.
Speaking of which, look at all the geese.
Geese, Canada geese.
Many Canada geese.
A couple days ago we had a young moose just hanging out over there by the water, just casually chilling. And then
we talk about Canada geese, moose and beavers.
Beavers.
The Canada show.
About as Canadian as it gets. Yeah, and bears too. Bears are a thing. So we've got lots of wildlife here. Yeah, so the road is another thing that just keeps coming up as a chore all the time. Right now it's fairly dry, so not too bad, but a few days ago it was very muddy, so it had huge divots and cars would get stuck here. And in the winter there's a lot of snow, so it has to be plowed all the time. And this is our private driveway here for the RV park, so the government doesn't plow it. The government only plows the public road, so we have to do it ourselves, which means somebody has to get on the tractor and plow it every time it snows.
Yep, and this road got so muddy when the snow started to melt that we had to get the tractor and get a blade to run across it just to make it drivable, just because of how bumpy and muddy and sludgy it would get. You'd get stuck really easily if you didn't have a big 4x4 truck. So yeah, it's and then coming up to the little forest behind one of the houses here, we just noticed the other day that a tree fell, and there's been lots of that too. So we're gonna have to buck that up and create some firewood or add it to the pile of building materials. I don't know if that tree is big enough, but
we'll have to see.
Just collecting building materials for houses that we'll build in the future.
Yeah, there's a ton of fallen wood here. We have so much forest, and it's forest management is something that we have to do ourselves. So lots of firewood, but it has to be processed, which is a lot of labor. There's just endless work anywhere you look.
Yeah, it's true. I was saying, we were saying in a call the other day with some friends, like how much harder this place makes things for just existing. Like, it has made so many areas of our lives harder. But at the same time, I've recognized this necessity to surrender to duty. And I think it's part of like just getting older and having a kid now and being married and having so many responsibilities and having family here. And it's just this need to do what needs to be done at all times, has become very obvious in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and especially just being here on the land where, you know, if you live in a city, you sometimes forget because there's so many things just provided by businesses or governments or just external systems that we have nothing to do with, and we're just there enjoying it by default. But when you're out here, so much rests on your shoulders. You know, if a sewer pipe blows up, it's your problem.
Which they do. They do. The water likes to blow up all the time. So I've become an expert at digging up pipes and replacing fittings on pipes for sewage and for water. It's been, there's been a lot of that. There's one in the winter that you were dealing with.
Oh yeah, we had sewer pipes freeze actually, because in the winter it was very, very cold. One time it got down to minus 36. But then, you know, even if it's minus 15, sometimes the sewer pipes would freeze. And so the toilets would be backed up, and then, you know, there's nothing you could do about it. Like, you can't unplug them because there's nowhere for it to go. So yeah, we had to try to force hot water into the sewer pipes to try to unfreeze them, which means there was just a giant mess of crap everywhere.
Yeah, like spraying into the air.
It's like spraying, and you're
It's
trying
like...
to clean it up, and it's very messy work.
So, I mean, we've kind of like hinted at all this work and talked about how hard it's been. So why are we here? Why would we attempt to do something like this? Let's start with you.
Well, I mean, it's very rewarding because we're actually building something meaningful, something fulfilling for us, for our family, for the community. And I don't know, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
But why?
Why? Well, it's a deep question. There's a lot that's wrong with the way that Western society functions. There's a lot that is not healthy, not sustainable, not something that I want to be doing in the long run for myself and my family and my loved ones. And I want to do something different. And this is our idea of something different. It's the start of a village, the start of a living lab. And I don't know, for me, that's what keeps me going. What about you?
For me, it relates to what you said. Like, we don't understand how things are put together, the infrastructure that underlies all of our day-to-day lives. We don't understand where our food comes from and how we maintain the basics of Western civilization. And I kind of felt like that was making us weak. And I wanted to give myself and my family the opportunity to learn all of that stuff and to be responsible for it. And to try and do something new, I suppose. Like, take this new opportunity of working online and working in the metaverse world and actually embody a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about with future thinkers in a physical location. So like, to get to do all of these different things in one place was super interesting to me. Yeah, you know, a lot of people, I was thinking about this earlier today, a lot of people these days are looking to get into a homesteading kind of lifestyle, like just live off the land. Oh, look at that deer.
Oh yeah. Look at that white bum.
I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah. They heard us coming a long way away. Yeah, so a lot of people want to do homesteading and don't know how to do it and don't know what steps to take. So we thought, well, let's try and figure that out and let's share what we learn. But then I think a lot of people that actually succeed in doing the homestead thing very, very quickly learn how important community is, especially if it's a homesteading family environment. You realize very quickly that this type of lifestyle can be isolating. And we sort of saw ahead with that a little bit. We knew it was going to be a bit isolating, and we knew we wanted to build more than just a homestead environment. We wanted to build a community. And so we saw that ahead, and we shopped for a place that was going to be big enough and sustainable enough from a size and business perspective to be able to sustain a lot of people, not just us. So I don't know how replicable it is, that the stuff that we're doing, but
Parts of it probably are.
yeah.
I mean, I don't imagine that the whole thing is replicable exactly the way that we're doing it from the start, because, you know, obviously we've had a podcast for a long time. How many other people have had a podcast? It's not, you know.
But it's really about the principles. This is where I think the podcast has been super useful, because we've always talked about principles, like principles of resilience and being regenerative and stoicism. I mean, we've talked about sort of these scalable solutions. Scalable is a tricky word. To me, scalable is in lots of people could do it, but at an individual local level.
Yeah.
But really just looking at existential problems and trying to figure out simple solutions. That's kind of what the podcast was always about. And then we suddenly had the opportunity to test ourselves and
Put things into practice.
yeah, exactly.
And learn how many of our previous ideas were complete crap and not gonna work, and which ones that we thought were minor are actually awesome and totally gonna work. So we're learning a lot on that front.
Like what has not worked? Like what's been unexpected that just you were totally wrong about? Well,
something that I'll have to think about this a little bit, but something that comes to mind immediately is like climate dictates a lot. And certain structures might seem really awesome in one climate, but totally don't work in another climate. So for example, we had this idea about having golf carts as being the primary mode of transportation on the land. And they are actually, we do have electric golf carts here, but they don't work when it's below zero. They won't even start. And obviously they don't work in the snow, and they don't work on hills. So
it's like, yeah, like 65-70% of your year is now rendered transportationless, if that's your only way to do it.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to figure out something else. And then, you know, what else? What about you? Maybe you can think of an example.
Well,
It's hailing right now.
It is.
It's hailing.
It's super sunny, but it's hailing.
Yeah, I just want to show this area because this is where the permaculture garden is going to go.
Sure.
Yeah, this is our back field here. You can't see this right now, but this area has very, very tall grass in the summer. So, which means that it has really good soil. And there's a little water spillway that runs over there. There's another one that runs over there, so it has good water access. If we wanted to, build channels for irrigation or whatnot. But generally in the valley here, the water table is very high, so we might not even need to water. Yeah, especially for the trees. So this is where it's gonna go. We might need to widen this area and clear some of the brush back there in the future. But I think that this space is a pretty good start. So that's where the permaculture garden is going to go, like a small vegetable garden and a lot of trees and perennial plants, and eventually animals as well. We have plans for a chicken coop. I don't know if we'll get to it this year. We'll try, but definitely next year. And then eventually we'd like to get bigger animals like maybe pigs or goats. A bunch of our neighbors have goats here, so they've already offered us babies, so who knows.
So what was the question again?
What is something that was cool as an idea,
unexpected,
but actually is probably not gonna work?
something that comes to mind that is not quite the right answer to this question, but just how much bureaucracy, how many hoops you have to jump through to make something happen. Like permitting takes so long. Zoning is super important. We kind of lucked out with our zoning, but a lot of the places we were looking at, a lot of the properties last year while we were searching seemed perfect, and then you find out what their zoning is and it's just impossible. It just seems like government and business are so entrenched that if you want to do anything non-standard, natural building, using materials from your land, throwing up even timber framing. Like timber framing is this cool building style where you use big logs. It's kind of like what you would think of as a log cabin, but they can be really nice and really big. And
it's a traditional building style. It's been used for a long time.
Centuries. And it's a tried and tested building method, but suddenly the local, governing body in our province says you can't do certain things with timber framing, which essentially just eliminates timber framing altogether. So, I mean, then you got to rely on building materials that come from out of province and using companies and using expensive labor, and
it makes me wonder if somebody lobbied for that,
Yeah, so that's a bit annoying, and that's kind of a constant thing. So, one thing I would hope more people would be aware of is that perspective, how difficult it is to make things happen when you have a government that doesn't really want you to do this type of thing. And I think policy change is very needed. So, who knows? Maybe in the near future we might start working on some campaigns to have some policies revisited. That's a big one, though.
It's like
a big one that I don't think I wasn't expecting, but it's just funny to see it in practice. Is just how much work it is.
Yeah.
We haven't even started building any houses yet. It's just like maintaining 400 acres of land is a freaking lot.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade it.
My family's here too, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it at all. I really enjoy it. I like the fact that we can work online, for a few hours every day, and then stop that work and change it up and do something physical. That's really pretty amazing. That's what I always enjoyed about traveling. Is you'd be working online, and then you finish your workday, you step outside, and you're in a foreign country, and you can explore, and it kind of feels that way still here.
Yeah.
Other questions? What do people want to know? We've been so out of touch for the last year.
Well, one thing that's been really interesting, and it wasn't unexpected for me, but that there are lots of people doing this sort of thing, quietly, if you will. Like, they're not trying to be public about it or podcast about it or tweet about it or whatever. Like, they're just doing it. And they have a lot to say and a lot to teach, but they just have no interest in doing it formally, we've just been talking to neighbors, and they just have so much wisdom, they've done this already, aspects of what we want to do.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You don't realize how much the land just teaches you.
Yeah.
Just by existing on it, you learn so much. Like there's no way I'd be able to get along here if I didn't learn how to drive a tractor and an excavator and a bucket truck and a dump truck. I've learned how to drive all these things now. Yeah, so there's things like that, but then there's also, like we said, the water management and all the cleanup. It's just by existing out here, you learn so much.
Yeah, and you learn what works and what doesn't. And you perfect and refine your skills.
Yeah, and not being so bothered by the elements too. That's a big one. I used to be a lot more sensitive to temperature, and now I'm just, after spending most of the fall and a big chunk of the winter outdoors digging ditches to try and winterize the pipes, Yeah, I just really wasn't bothered by winter as much.
Yeah, after you are outside for a while in -35, -15 feels like t-shirt weather.
Yeah. Yeah, so like philosophically, as it relates to the podcast, I feel resilience is such a huge part of this for me. Like that's why I want people to come, and that's what I hope to give people. I don't, like, obviously it's hard to invite everyone and accommodate everyone. Like you've just got limited resources and limited space and limited time. But what I do think people can come away from visiting a place like this, or just listening to our story as we tell it online, is this is doable, and there are kind of pathways that are fairly straightforward and easy in terms of like just one foot in front of the other, just start, that can make you a hell of a lot more resilient. And I think people could come here, learn those lessons, and then go back to their own locations and start up a similar project. It actually, I can't say it's not that hard, it's super hard, but it's worth it. That's the main thing. Totally worth it.
Yeah, and I think it's needed that people do this in different locations, because it's going to be different. Like the land really teaches you what it needs.
And then why, I mean, I don't know that we really said why it's important, but I do think that supply chain breakdown and government breakdown and you know, all the stuff that's been going on the last 2 years, all of the crazy shit, it's gonna make this type of skill set way more valuable and way more useful. You're on the other side, unless you want to drive.
Yeah, I just want to show this thing that we're driving.
It's a mule.
Yeah, so this is our workhorse, our mule. We're gonna drive it up to the culvert and pack all those dead wood branches into the back, and then take them to the permaculture farm area that we just showed you guys, where we're going to be building hugelculture beds. Like they're a special type of layered raised beds that produce really good soil and are very fertile.
Alright, so always let the spark plugs warm up. And neutral. You take the camera.
At least we can get a good start on it. You ready?
We have to talk about, oh, you're recording again.
I
was gonna make an excuse not to do it. Now that the camera's on. All right, let's do this.
We're both still sick.
Yeah, we both got the COVIDs. All right, chores complete. A few more things we wanted to talk about. So first, what would you like to say?
Well, so one of the things that we've been grappling with recently, well, and I would say maybe throughout our whole podcast, is the place of technology and how to use it ethically and healthily, and where does it fit in, you know, human evolution, human life, human culture. And it seems that there's a lot of people either going all into technology and like technology is going to save the world, or they're like, oh no, technology is evil, we should not use it, avoid, escape. Well, there's got to be some sort of a middle ground, because obviously humans have, you know, developed many technologies that have stuck around with us for a long time, like fire, language, etc. You know, so there's got to be something useful in there. It's not all garbage, and it's not all salvation either. So one thing that we've been talking about and working on actually all winter is sort of a mycelial web between these kinds of projects around the world and the people who are thinking along similar lines or building similar things in maybe different ways.
Or people who just want to, like want to learn how to participate. Like not all of this is about starting this type of project. There's tons of people out there who have the ambition and maybe the resources and maybe the time to attempt and start something like this, but it takes a huge number of people, and with any number of different specialties, just a willingness to like get cold and uncomfortable and work hard, and that's the main thing. Like the varieties of skill sets aren't super important if you're willing to learn. So I think this project is meant to speak to just anyone who's interested in being a part of something like this, not just starting it, I think.
Yeah. And just the need for decentralized cooperation, collaboration, knowledge sharing, and just connecting to people who are interested in things like this. And so we've kind of thrown around. Geese.
We're irritating the geese.
Yeah. I was saying we've been throwing around this idea of starting a DAO and just experimenting what we can and can't do with decentralized decision making and what works and doesn't work. That's our approach to a lot of things. It's just like a lab. Instead of like, we don't pretend to know exactly how it's going to work out or what is a thing that is ideal. We're more interested in just trying things and seeing what works. So a DAO seems like a good framework for doing that digitally, and
so we actually did. Yeah, we actually did start this project, and that's what this video is about, and that's what we're going to continue to be talking about with sort of the new version of what our podcast is becoming. I don't even mind doing these types of like podcast episodes where we're just wandering around and doing some chores and just kind of talking about whatever we're working on. Let us know if you guys are interested in that and if you want to be a part of something like that. Like, take this video as an invite to come be part of this project. So a little more on the DAO. So we knew we wanted to do something like this. We've been peripherally involved in different kind of crypto blockchain startups for years and years now. We knew there was a huge opportunity with harnessing collective intelligence, using some of the newer tools for mediating collective decision making, and we've interviewed people in that space as well. A good friend of ours, Jeff Emmett, is kind of a leading thinker there, and we've had lots of conversations with him about different forms of governance. So this is a subject we care about and we're exploring quite a bit. And so finally we're just like, all right, let's do what we've always talked about. And so we started a new brand and created an NFT collection that becomes the access for this DAO, and it's called PortalDAO, PortalDAO.io. Initially, we were going to be anonymous.
Yeah, we wanted to be mysterious with it.
Yeah, and just kind of build in a lot of experiences into the land that were like, you would arrive here through these digital clues that we'd be leaving all over the internet. But we realized kind of quickly how saturated this space is, and how much we needed to put our own brand and our own like faces behind the thing. So anyway, so from your perspective, Yubi, how would you describe what PortalDAO is meant to do?
Well, the mycelial web is kind of a good metaphor, good nature metaphor. It's that connective tissue between nodes that is meant for sense making and disseminating information and connection. And then the metaphor of the portal. Oh, look, this is
I just saw that too. A whole bunch of deer poop.
It's moose poop.
Oh, is it moose?
Yeah, it's moose.
You all expert in poop.
Yeah, okay, this is where the moose was hanging out. Lots of moose poop. So, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, yes.
Switch spots here.
Oh, that's a very nice view from here. Beautiful. Look at that. Yeah, the metaphor of the portal is really cool because I really enjoy it. It's because the internet has become sort of a place that people go to, and I think that might actually be not quite its best use. I'm more interested in the internet as a portal to places, to people, to experiences, to wisdom, to real human connection, to, things that are life affirming. I think that's really important because it can get dystopian so quickly if we misuse technology, and it can get self-terminating as well, which is the kind of very negative outcome. So, but the internet as a portal and these different technologies as a portal is much more interesting to me. So that's kind of why I'm attracted to this name, PortalDAO, and I wanted, that value to be baked in. What about you, Mike? What's very exciting for you about this?
I love the art side of things. Like, I've told this story a bunch of times recently, but I don't know if I've said it anywhere on the podcast or to you guys in the kind of broader sense. We've traveled for a lot of years. I think we started the podcast in 2013. And
we were already traveling for a year at that point.
So, and we only really returned to Canada just 2 years ago now. So we've been gone a long time, and we were kind of discussing after we returned to Canada what we liked about the different places that we traveled to. And art and culture was always the answer. That was always the unifying thing between all these places. Our favorite places like have street art and music on every corner, and you'd go to a bar or you'd go to a restaurant and there's always some music or some sort of performance in a lot of these places. Like Berlin or Lisbon, Portugal, or Ubud, Bali, or Bangkok, Thailand, all these different places. Plovdiv, Bulgaria. Like, festivals were a big deal. Art was always such a big deal in these places. So, both of us have been artists for a long time. We've been musicians, and we're missing that aspect in our lives, like the creation of music and art. And so we thought, like, how do we bring people here? How do we attract people here, and allow ourselves to be fulfilled and creative again? And when NFTs kind of started exploding in the last year, we both kind of clicked onto it and realized, like, there's a lot more than just sort of animated GIFs and Bored Apes and all that stuff. There's an opportunity that goes deep and will go far into the future, because crypto, as always, kind of removes the middleman and connects people directly to their audiences. So we just wanted to make art more, and I loved this idea of making this access token to the village and to the different things we do online, and an access token to a set of experiences, like a rabbit hole that people could go into. I've joked around a lot that my archetype is like the mad scientist. I love creating secret passages and hidden doorways and like riddles and these long kind of winding paths that people can go down just from one little trigger point, one little thing, one little out of place object in a room that you just tweak in the right way, and suddenly an entire adventure unfolds right in front of you. So the fact that we have this giant piece of land and we are going to build structures on it, and we're going to build make art in this place, and we have this opportunity to just build all of these rabbit holes into every layer of whatever we build for years to come. And it just made sense to start that in the digital world with cryptocurrencies and with NFTs. So, we made this NFT collection that became the access token for PortalDAO. And we wanted the NFTs to be based on something that was deep and fundamental to human experience. And archetypes, we've covered archetypes on the podcast for, I don't know, close to 10 episodes in different ways, but we actually did a series on the Archetypes based off of the King, Warrior, Magician, Lover book. I forget the author of that book, but yeah. So I spent the last 6 months making these archetype NFTs, a collection of 5,000 variations of 6 archetypes: King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, Creator, and Explorer. So,
and then there will be 6 more in season 2.
Yeah, so we'll do a separate batch after that, adding up to 10,000 in total. So I mean, NFTs are so cool because it's sort of a way to like get in on someone or on a project, like invest in someone's career, into someone's future, and they can build in utilities and sort of make this exclusive club for the original group of people that invested in them.
And be like a founding member of this club of people who have shared values and, want to see a specific kind of future come about.
Mm-hmm. And participate in person too, like to actually, come here and do, NFT token holder only events and like meet all the other people that are just as close and tight to this community. And yeah, I mean, it's just the beginning. Like the opportunities with this are so huge, and I don't know if there are many projects out there that have physical land like this with the intention to build a village with an audience like we have with Future Thinkers, and sort of this game B, like let's solve some existential problems kind of attitude. So it's a very unique project, and I say that humbly, knowing how much work is ahead of us and how possible it is for us to fail without help. But I just know that like there's something special about this, and the NFT idea just allows for the community to be a part of it in a real way with skin in the game, and like yeah it's so hard to explain what the utilities will be of this project, and we've kind of wanted to lean into the mystery of it, but if you want to check out what we're doing and be a part of it, you can do that by going to PortalDAO.io.
Yeah, I think probably the easiest way to describe the utility is that it's membership. You get to be a founding member of a club, and then, lots of things will come after that.
A lot of things are going to be coming out of this. More art, more rabbit holes, more portals. The DAO is going to be responsible for an evolving set of projects and goals and tasks over the future. Right now, it will be likely a lot to do with sort of different art and render contests. Because, I mean, I've just gotten my feet back into creating art, and I freaking love it. And I want to, work with other people and make some cool art and
make protopian art.
Yeah.
There's so much dystopian art out there. We want to make protopian art.
Yeah, like we want people to be inspired by art. Someone said on Twitter recently, the best art is art that tries to become government and religion and philosophy. And I retweeted it. You should check it out on our Twitter. I really love that quote. I'm kind of butchering it, but I totally agree. Like, the best art is something that hits you deep, hits you at the core, and that's why the Archetypes were the choice for us. So yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. We want you guys to be a part of this, obviously. We've been saying that so much. It's been a lonely, 6 months now, because everything kind of shuts down in the winter. So we want to attract some of you industrious, cold-resistant types to come out here.
Although it does get very hot in the summer.
Yeah, we had a heat wave last year that killed all the grass. That
Yeah.
was fun. But yeah, there's so much to do and so much to learn, and this will make you a stronger, better, hardier person, a smarter person, more self-reliant person. You'll understand how the underlying infrastructure of Western living comes together. When the power goes out, you're responsible. Get the generator out, solve your problem. When the water pressure goes away because one of the pipes explodes, make sure you've got your tools and let's go fix a pipe. And
of course, we're surrounded by wild nature here, so the insights about nature and your own nature are abundant as well.
Yeah.
And I said a while ago that being out here almost makes you religious, like not in a dogmatic way, but just in an experiential way, where just you observe the grand mystery unfolding right here in front of you. You know, you're not shut away in a box apartment where you don't see nature. You're surrounded by nature. You're in nature all the time.
Unless you're working on an NFT project for 6 months, then yeah, you're really back in your box again.
So we'll be back to making podcasts again soon. And we'd love to invite you guys for an interactive podcast episode, sort of a community podcast episode, a group Zoom call with us and some of our favorite thinkers as well. Where should people go to join? You have to register, because we don't want to get overrun by trolls. That happened recently.
Yeah, I totally got trolled so bad in one of our last calls. Anyway, futurethinkers.org/community call. Does that work? Yeah, that works.
Community call? Yeah, sure.
Okay. futurethinkers.org/community call. Go pre-register. When's the first one going to happen?
Next Wednesday? We have to confirm with babysitting.
Right.
So
oh yeah, we have a kid now. That's been a serious lifestyle responsibility upgrade in the last couple of years too.
I think by the time this is released, the date will be announced. But if you go to that link, you will see the date and the time on there, and you can register and join us. And see you soon.
Oh yeah, as well, the NFTs will drop on June 1st. We were planning on doing it on May 1st, but just realized we didn't have enough time with everything happening, so we pushed it back a month. So that's happening, and then we're going to be doing different kind of weekly events every week until the drop date. We might continue them kind of later into the summer too, but that's really when the chores and when all the work really starts picking up here. So maybe not, but at least until June 1st, we're going to be doing weekly sort of community podcast episodes, vlogs, AMAs, stuff like that. We'll be doing giveaways as well for the Archetypes, so keep your eye out for that. You should follow Future Thinkers and PortalDAO on Twitter, and we can leave links at PortalDAO.io for all the social media channels and stuff. Actually, you could just go PortalDAO.io/Twitter and /Discord to get access to those communities.
Discord is invite only now, but we will leave a private link for our Future Thinkers people to join.
Yeah, and as well, we'll be giving away invites every couple of days probably. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. COVID.
Oh.
Just getting over it.
Yeah, not fun. Oh yeah, and so all the people who bought our seed NFT last year will be getting an Archetype NFT dropped to them. So because this is the evolution of the project, that's the next step. We wanted to do a collection of trees initially, but decided to opt out for Archetypes because they're more kind of personal and embodied.
And the other thing is I could do it myself because I already knew how to do After Effects. So the learning curve was a lot lower than like learning Blender and doing all that crazy stuff myself. So yeah, all the designs and stuff. We had a few artists collaborate. We had someone helping us with actually making the masks themselves for the Archetypes, but all of the background elements were myself doing all the design, and then UV helped quite a bit with like the different material combinations that create the rarity between all of the different NFTs.
The lore.
And then what else? Oh, the music as well. Daniel Suet, longtime friend of ours and listener of the podcast, many years now. He's a composer, and he made a bunch of musical signatures for the Archetypes as well. So that's going to be included with the Archetype NFT drop, is this orchestral, soundscapey, really awesome music that represents each one of the Archetypes. So be on the lookout for that. And we're going to be doing some contests as well. So probably one of the first ones we'll do is what we're calling Return to the Village Render Challenge. So essentially, we want you guys to imagine the kind of regenerative, solar punk, protopian vision of a village that you would like to live in. You know, what's special about this place that you would like to live in? how do you envision it? And so we'll give some templates for you guys to check out and like design something with, and then submit for a chance to win one of the archetypes, among other things, including stays here on the Smart Village land. And I don't know, we'll figure out some more stuff to drop in for secret.
Yeah. Yeah, so lots of exciting stuff coming up that we've had up our sleeve, and now we're finally releasing it. And yeah, ready to re-emerge into the world and share it all with you guys. So come join us on one of our calls, and we'd love to see you.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.